Shalom. My name is Rabbi Gail Schuster-Buskila, and today I'd like to talk about Parashat Vayeshev, the ninth Torah portion in the book of Genesis. And I would like to start out by looking at my website for Midrash.Harabah. And here you can see my midrash dealing with nature or nurture. There are lots of questions we ask in this subject. But if you would like to read the entire Torah portion, you can read it on this beautiful site. I really advise it, Sefaria, where they put the Hebrew and the English next to each other. I'm not going to read my whole midrash or the whole parasha, but it will be from the 37th chapter of the book of Genesis. We'll begin with verse 9. And he here is Joseph. He dreamed another dream, told it to his brothers. He said, "There in the other dream I have dreamed was the sun and the moon, and the other 11 stars that bowed down to me." He told it to his father and his brothers. His father reprimanded him. He said to him, "What is this dream you have dreamed? Will we all come, myself, your mother, and brothers, to bow down to you? To the ground?" His brothers were envious of him, and his father was aware of this. "Naive child," my midrash begins, "you are like a rose with thorns. People may admire you, but sometimes come away scratched and bleeding despite your allure." Who was responsible for such a character? Who molded his personality and made him a braggart and then a clever, brilliant man? Who was most influential? Father? Jacob treated him differently than everyone else because that is what he saw growing up. Mother? Rachel had waited so long for him to be born, but didn't get to raise him. Brothers? Older half-brothers don't usually care about their intrusive younger siblings. Nature or nurture is somehow an unanswerable conundrum. He was left to his own devices to explore the world and navigate complex family relations. And they just got a little more complex, as we see from verse 22 in the book of Genesis. Reuben said to them, "Do not spill blood. Throw him into a pit in the desert, but do not harm him, so that he could save him from their hands to return him to his father." So when Joseph came to his brother, they stripped him of his cloak, the multicolored cloak he had on him. They took him and threw him into an empty pit without water. Here are the credits for the video that I just made, and I made the video. My children got me on to the Alice in Chains, Down in a Hole. And I really believe that this is an essential part of the problem with Joseph, that he has been in a situation whereby he is a special child to his mother and a special child to his father. He is in a complex family situation, although everybody in those days was living together. I myself come from a family where we had parents who were divorced and had they didn't have other children, but they had other family members. And so we had to deal with other people, and we all had different positions in the family. And I've seen many, many families, as well as everyone else, I'm sure, where these things happen. No one intends to create a child as complex as Yosef. No one intends to create a problem as difficult as the problems between these brothers. And I'm speaking of the brothers where they got to a point where they just couldn't stand him anymore. And one thing that I thought of, besides the video where you see a visual idea of what it might have looked like, both for him to be in a pit and later when he was taken to Egypt and put in jail, and I believe strongly in doing those things, is trying to see things as the way they were. I also thought from my own Midrash of a sculpture of Calder where people are hanging. The red discs, I guess, or half discs or shapes, seem to hang in a Calder sculpture, especially this one. And that seemed to me to be one of the things that I thought of when I thought of Joseph, whether he was in the pit or in the jail later. And as it says in Deuteronomy 28, verse 66, for your life hanging in front of you, and you are afraid night and day, so you will not believe in your life. There must have been a situation, there must have been time as he was in jail, as he was in the pit first and later in jail, that he had no idea what was going to happen to him. And as I say here at the end of my Midrash, more to come in Parashat Miketz. And that's really what I wanted to talk about. The nature and nurture is developed in my Midrash. The visual ideas of what happened to a child who'd been given preferential treatment when he found himself in true distress, in true moments of difficulty. And I think of how he may have been shaped by his upbringing, but maybe the fact that he went through all of these experiences really changed him. Shabbat Shalom, Parashat Vayeshev.